Before we get into today's video, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about making money for game mastering? If you have, go to GameShopsBasement.com. There's a banner ad at the top that can take you some more information about learning how to do just that. And now, on with our feature presentation.
Okay, so since there's been some asking about them, this is Hendrix the male and Blueberry the female. And they got their names from a website that had a list of parakeet names. My wife is from the Philippines. She didn't come to America until 2020, so she never heard of Jimi Hendrix. But Hendrix, is the name of this parakeet because she liked that name off on a website that was a list of parakeet names. Now, I'm not going to get too close to them because they did not have a very good life before my wife and I got them. Like, they are not, I had a friend who had some parakeets, and like they would jump on your finger and land on your shoulder and bond with you and do all sorts of stuff. These parakeets are skittish, and it's going to take a long time to get them to, accept people and stuff like that. So if I got closer to them, they'd like fly away and stuff like that. So they are not. So my wife and I are trying to work with them and get them, socialized and stuff. But we don't think that they had the best life before us, and so they're not socialized. But they are really, really pretty. All right, so those are the birds. And then for today, the rest of today's video, I'm going to borrow my son Ian's room again. And so you probably won't be hearing them in the background for today's video. But try to get closer to them now, and they are really pretty. Here you go, birds. Say hi to your adoring public.
All right. Welcome to Bit of Banter, that little bit of the Basement Banter show, a little more snippet version compared to the longer weekly guest version. So today, just a moment ago, you would have watched a little thing with the birds. There was a request for to kind of show the birds. Not going to hear the birds today. Today I'm again using my son Ian's bedroom here, so to kind of contain that a little bit. Might be there in the main studio, again from time to time. But yeah, they're neat birds. But today we're going to talk about a couple of things. What's going on in Game Shop's basement. So tonight, and this is January 27th, 2022, we are starting a new Star Wars campaign. Now, we had a Star Wars campaign last summer, then it kind of wound down, starting a new one tonight. And we are using the Star Wars D6 system, which technically isn't the current system. The people who have the license and everything to do a Star Wars tabletop role-playing game right now is Fantasy Flight Games. And they have a different system. It's like the Eclipse system. Now, in 2017, though, my gosh, that was 5 years ago already. Wow, it's 2022, so 2017 was 5 years ago. But in 2017, Fantasy Flight Games actually released the D6 system for Star Wars as a 30th edition box set, because the D6 system for Star Wars started in 1987. So from 1987, 2017, that's 30 years. So they released the 30th edition box set. And you know what? And so it's a currently published product. I mean, I don't know if they've had very many print runs since 2017, but it tells a lot of people still play Star Wars D6. And in my opinion, it really captures the feel of Star Wars better than any other system they've ever tried with Star Wars. One thing about that I'm going to kind of mention here is that in systems like Star Wars D6, there's no plot armor, or there's no hero armor. Another friend of mine calls it the hero armor. So in D&D, you might have triple digit hit points. You might have over 100 hit points. And oh yes, I got hit with a dagger in the chest, but that dagger only did 6 points of damage. La la la. Or oh, that arrow got me in the back, but it only did 10 points of damage. La la la. I still have over 100 hit points left. Um, and this in first edition D&D, you stop getting hit dice at like around 10th level. So you didn't get to some of the ungodly amounts of hit points that people have now in modern editions. So, but people call that plot device armor, or a friend of mine calls it hero armor. You're the hero, you're not supposed to die. But in Star Wars D6, oh no, guns kill. Um, they kill. They kill quite easily. It is possible to take the shot on your armor. It's possible, to get shot but not get shot up too bad and survive. But it is also quite possible in Star Wars that one shot, one time, will drop you dead, and that creates a kind of a different feel. Last summer, when we did Star Wars for several months, there was a Mandalorian bounty hunter. He was actually kind of cool. He was a Gungan Mandalorian foundling, and he'd never been around real Gungans before, because he's a foundling. And so the Mandalorians, for those of you that in Star Wars lore and stuff, according to the material that I've read, Mandalorians are 75% human and 25% other species, because the Mandalorians, they don't care about how you were born. They care that you embrace their values and their system and their culture and society. And if you embrace their values and their system and their culture and their society, they don't care how you were born. And that's just how Mandos are. They're really egalitarian that way. How you were born doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is how good of a Mando you are. And kind of a merit based system that way. So this Gungan foundling that this guy rolled up for his character, he'd never seen other Gungans, never been around other Gungans. And the way he role played his character was that he just assumed, my people must suck, because he spent his whole life being treated by other people in the Star Wars universe the way people in Star Wars universe tend to treat Gungans, like a joke or like stupid people or something. And so he actually grew up assuming my species must suck. And it was kind of an interesting outlook, So we had the Mandalorian Gungan foundling. But anyway, so he pulls out this disruptor rifle in one of his very first combats, shoots this enemy NPC, drops him dead. And he had only played D&D before in his gaming life, so he's like, oh, I just expected to kind of plink, plink, plink at that person's hit points. Oh no, there's no hit points. That was a disruptor rifle, and you hit him good. He's dead. And in Star Wars, there's not so many ways for characters to come back to life. Okay, Force users are not like high-level clerics in D&D. They don't just have resurrections. So it's a very different feel to the game. When guns start going off, grenades and stuff like that start going off, or heaven forbid, a thermal detonator, because it is Star Wars. When these sorts of things start to happen, people act like they act in real life. They get behind stuff. They duck. They get down. They shoot from behind something, because they're guns. Star Wars Star Wars D6, a very different feel. No plot armor, no hero armor. So if that appeals to you, check it out. So it's 7:30 Central Time, doing D6 Star Wars. The last thought for today is that along these lines of what like GM Murray was talking about, trying to help people create better sessions for themselves or increase their chances to have a good session. So this idea is something that people may have heard me preach before on this, that NPCs are people. They are. NPCs are people. If you think about it, when your character wakes up in the morning, whether they wake up in the Forgotten Realms, or they wake up on Ravnica, or they wake up on a planet in the Star Wars universe, or they wake up in Shadowrun, or they wake up, in Matt Mercer's Exandria, or in Mystara. When your character wakes up in the morning, in whatever world they live in, if it's like real life Earth has billions of people on it, and so there's billions of people in that world. And if you think about the other player characters, that's maybe what, 4 or 5 people in your whole world. Everybody else is an NPC. Your character's mom is NPC. Character's dad's an NPC. If your character went to school, their teachers are NPCs. If your character had a childhood friend growing up, that childhood friend was an NPC. And in real life, it's our relationships that make life work. And so, if you're a player character and you only have meaningful relationships with these people that you call your party, and you don't cultivate meaningful relationships with the NPCs in the universe, now this doesn't mean that when you go to work with a merchant, this doesn't mean that we have to role play long conversations with every merchant when you're just trying to sell something or buy something. That's not what it means. But now you could, and that merchant, could become somebody who starts giving you a discount or something. Or that merchant could be somebody that hates you and is going to gouge you on the price, because NPCs are people. And gaming worlds become so much richer, just like real life becomes richer, when you start investing in people. So it's easy to maybe kind of have video game mentality and think about, I've got so much gold on my character sheet, or credits in Star Wars, or Nuyen in Shadowrun, or whatever, or I do this much damage, or I've got this spell, or I've got this magic item. But and in that sense, you kind of play in D&D, or whatever game you're playing at, like a video game, and you can do that. But tabletop RPGs have so much more. There is so much more there in terms of satisfying story and really cool story achievements, and just weaving a unique story and creating memories that you and your friends who are players and your game master, that whole collaborative group, are going to remember forever and talk about for years. 10 years from now, and I've been playing D&D for 39 years. 10 years from now, you won't remember how much damage you did against that boss villain. You won't remember whether it was 35 points of damage or 40 points of damage or whatever. But you will remember the quest to defeat that boss villain. And you'll remember things that happened along the way. NPCs are people. And if now I do teach how to game master and everything. Right now I'm talking about playing, but in the classes that I teach on game mastering, I talk about how to flesh out NPCs to be like people, to be like the real people that you meet. And those of you who've taken like my game mastering course, you might know some of the stuff I teach about how to make NPCs like real people. But from a player's point of view, which is what I'm talking about today, there's all the people around you in a village or in a city, whether it's the city of Waterdeep in Forgotten Realms, or whether it's Coruscant, the planet city in Star Wars, or whether it's Ravnica, the planet city in D&D Magic the Gathering crossover. All those people all around you, they're NPCs. So NPCs are people. If you don't want to buy into that, if you're like, well, John, I just want to, play it like a video game. I just want to be concerned about my gold and my damage and my magic powers and how powerful I feel. I mean, if that's all you want, then, Gary Gygax used to say there is no right or wrong way to play these games. So what I'm doing then, in light of that, because I believe that Gary Gygax, when he said there is no right or wrong way to play these games, so since I'm not going to judge right or wrong, what I'm doing is suggesting that it's a lot more fun one way than another. That we'll phrase it that way. All right, so NPCs are people. If you want to check out a game that doesn't have plot armor or hero armor and has a few more thrill, few more. Whew, my character barely lived through that. Yeah. So if you want to try some game that doesn't have plot armor, check out our Star Wars D6 game. NPCs are people, and those are our birds. So that was our stuff today. So if you'd like to support us here at the Game Shop's basement, there's several ways you can help us out. If you just like and subscribe on YouTube, that helps us out. If you find my profile, or when it's available, GM Murray's profile on startplaying.games and give us a review, that helps us out. Come to a game as an observer, that helps us out. Or come to a paid game and enjoy some of the mayhem for one of your characters. That helps us out. So there's lots of things you can do. So in the meantime, I'll see you in game.